Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. This film, released by Toho in 1964, was the fifth film to appear in Toho's original Godzilla franchise, the Showa series. The main focus of the film is an irradiated meteorite discovered in Karube Valley. From this meteorite emerged the namesake of the film, Ghidorah, a golden three-headed dragon from outer space with a hunger for destruction. 5,000 years after destroying all life on Venus, Ghidorah arrived on Earth to continue fulfilling its sole purpose of destroying all life in the universe.
このままでは地球は滅亡です。キングギドラのために死の星となります。
However, as soon as Ghidorah began devastating the Earth, he finally met his match. His conquest was brought to a halt by three of the most powerful kaijus on Earth: Mothra, Rodan, and most importantly, Godzilla. The combined might of these kaijus overwhelmed Ghidorah, who fled from the Earth. While Mothra and Rodan were most certainly a key component in Ghidorah's defeat, the kaiju that proved to be his only equal was Godzilla, being the only kaiju able to wrestle, pin down, and throw Ghidorah. On that day, Godzilla didn't just become a rival, he became the arch nemesis. Godzilla and Ghidorah would face each other in battle many times as the years went on. Even after the Showa series came to an end and Ghidorah was killed, the Heisei era had Godzilla cross paths with King Ghidorah for a whole film. While both of their origins were rewritten for this film, and many to follow, their rivalry never altered. Through every one of Godzilla's franchises, King Ghidorah would face Godzilla, whether he was an alien, an elemental guardian, a fanfiction, an interdimensional demon, or three little Pokemon rejects mutated by an atom bomb. Seriously, what the fuck? Whenever Godzilla returns, Ghidorah will return as well. Even today, in the ongoing MonsterVerse franchise, Ghidorah returned to his roots as an alien invader to fight Godzilla once again.
He's not part of our natural order, and he's not meant to be here.
A false king.
An invasive species.
With a new version of King Ghidorah, there will also be a new figure version to recreate his on-screen appearance. Enter Bandai Tamashii Nation's SH Monster Arts. SH Monster Arts has been the primary provider for Godzilla figures for decades, and with them working to be the best, this figure was expected to be the best. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Their 2019 Ghidorah figure suffered from incorrect proportions, lazy painting, and was severely lacking in accessories and overall stability. How disappointed the fans were. Until SH Monster Arts released a second version of the figure to redeem themselves. The fans were excited until they learned that it was the exact same figure with shinier paint. Pathetic. With this disappointment of an action figure being the best one available, our community seemed lost. Until 2022, when a competitor entered the arena. HIYA Toys secured the license to the MonsterVerse thanks to their connections with Warner Brothers and delivered a whole new series of cheaper and superior figures in the franchise, including the arch nemesis King Ghidorah. But was it all too good to be true? After the more than successful launch of their first Ghidorah figure, they suffered backlash and complaints about the paint, solidity, and lack of accessories, which HIYA Toys would supposedly correct with their second color version. The second color version included a new shinier color and accessories. Unfortunately, those were the only differences between the figures. Neither of them were completely film accurate and still suffered from painting and engineering flaws. And to top off these recent events in HIYA Toys, their Ghidorah campaign was looking very similar to their competitors' methods. Deja vu provoked discomfort in our community. We started thinking that HIYA Toys wasn't as superior as we thought they were. Until they proved their worth. By actually listening to and learning from complaints about their Ghidorah figures, they went back to the drawing board to re-engineer their Ghidorah figure to create a new and truly superior version of the MonsterVerse Ghidorah. HIYA Toys King Ghidorah 2.0 is meant to be the culmination of their past and present day figure engineering, combining the more accurate proportions and better posability of their first Ghidorahs with improved painting and engineering and accessories, as well as some interesting new traits. So after 4 years of competing, complaining, re-engineering, and delaying, has HIYA Toys managed to create the ultimate MonsterVerse King Ghidorah action figure at a perfect price. What's up, everyone? Killosaurus Rex here, and yeah, baby! Links in the description if you want one of these guys for yourself, and through my link, there will be a discount applied at the Kiss Toy Store. The HIYA Toys Exquisite Basic King Ghidorah 2.0 is the last MonsterVerse Ghidorah figure you'll ever need. And I have no shame in saying that, because the paint and detail on this figure is magnificent. The bright organic gold with bits of weathering and dry brushing makes it look like it came straight out of the movie, even though I don't know what the real color of the character is. Alright, look, every Ghidorah scene in King of the Monsters was so awesome, alright? With one of the best King Ghidorah designs I have ever seen. And yet, I can't fucking see him! We get it, movie makers. Ghidorah is a horrifically powerful alien, and his first appearance is straight out of a horror movie. You did a great job there. But that aesthetic doesn't change the foundation of the film, which is... big monsters go rawr! The audience can't enjoy it if they can't see big monsters going rawr! The detailing is amazing. I gotta start with the wings because, god damn, they're huge! And thanks to the paint and detailing on them, they are beautiful! Oh, I want to roll to seduce the dragon.
Hey, come here, look at me. Hey, look at me. What did I say? No. Come here, look at me. Hey, look at me. No. Come here, look at me. Hey, you wanna... No.
The dark gold/yellow color is so bold and ominous that any stance the wings can do just shows pure dominance. And the darkly colored veins throughout the wings give him so much life and expression. And there's a bit of a special feature included with these wings, but let's save that for the sculpt and design. Switching to the wing bones and spikes, they have some magnificent weathering mixed with the dark gold to make it look more natural. Makes it look like it's an actual living creature that's been through some shit. And that detail is carried over to the entire body. The weathering makes the color of the figure seem so dark, and yet the bright gold is still so clear. The weathering makes it look like there's proper shading all over this guy, and it makes him look even more ominous in certain poses. This guy's fucking scary. If you look closely, you'll notice that the spikes and claws on this figure are painted with this dark beige color that has the same level of detailing as the rest of the figure. How do they do this? The detailing is so precise, and yet the separation of the colors is smooth like butter. The color separation on the spikes at the end of the tails is a little bit messy, but don't ruin the moment. The little spikes on Ghidorah's back have that beautiful dark beige color balanced with the detailing so well. You can barely see the coloring from far away thanks to the weathering and detail. Even when you look at it up close, I promise you, they all look so real. Throughout his body, across his necks, and all the way up to his 3 heads. And if you're wondering why King Ghidorah has 3 heads, get the fuck out! With these heads being Ghidorah's defining trait, HIYA Toys did them some damn good justice. And in case you weren't aware of it, this Ghidorah has names for each of the individual heads, because each of the heads has their own characteristics, says the director of King of the Monsters. Not entirely sure how I like the idea of them having different characteristics despite them all being a part of the same Titan, but I do like how the director based their characteristics off of his 3 pet dogs, and he let his crew members name one of the 3 heads. In the center, we got Ichi, who, being the middle head, is responsible for keeping order among the others. On the left, we got Ni, who was raised on the streets with an aura that screams, "Come at me, bro!" And on the right, we got Kevin. He's the...
We're sorry. The number you reached has been disconnected.
He's a special little guy. Despite their mixed personalities, the figure has the same level of paint and detail for all of them. That is to say, it looks so good! The color and weathering of the heads match the rest of the figure perfectly. The shading on the horns is perfect. The snouts look like a real animal. The teeth are vicious. The mouth and tongues look disgustingly realistic. And the best part of all 3 heads, the eyes. Just look into those fiery eyes. I could barely tell what color his eyes were in the movie, but I like to believe they look like this because they are ferocious. That fiery orange with the red sclera outlined with pure black is carried across all 3 heads perfectly. At first, I was keeping myself from sucking on these heads for the sake of the video, but after getting lost in those magnificent eyes, I just can't help myself. He has 3 heads! Every time we make love, it's an orgy! By the way, if you actually caught that reference, we're friends now. Unfortunately, I gotta do a little cock blocking and point out the fact that Itchy's head has the best detailing. The horns and mouths on the other 2 heads are pretty much on point, but the snouts and tops of the heads... the coloring is just as perfect. And the detailing is phenomenal, but when you compare it to Itchy, you notice there is less shading and weathering around certain parts of the head. There's no shading in the nose, and there's no weathering around the eyes at all. That's not a big negative, because at a distance, you can't even tell. But if you want some close-up shots, Itchy has some excellent shading and weathering that makes him so expressive and lifelike. He's actually got so much life that he's expressing that villainous attitude from all angles. For Nee and Kevin, there's less expressiveness, but thanks to the eyes, there's plenty of life. The main problem with these 2 is when you look at them straightforward, they kind of look like psychopaths. Thankfully, the sculpt and design of this figure is what allows the heads to maintain lifelike expressions. The sculpt and design of this figure isn't actually that different from the first version, and honestly, that's a good thing. Ever since the great prototype photos of their King Ghidorah, I could tell that HIYA Toys nailed the design so much better than the SH Monster Arts did. It looks just like the Ghidorah we saw in the film, and honestly, SH Monster Arts was pretty close, but they completely fucked up the proportions. The heads were also kind of ugly. As I said, between 2.0 and the original version of the HIYA Toys Ghidorah, I can't find any differences in the sculpt and design, which again is a really good thing, because HIYA Toys had that absolutely nailed from the start. Its proportions are amazingly on point, it has so much depth and expression, the heads have such angry looks on them, and the wings, oh my god, the wings! The veins are sculpted in beautifully, and the wing membranes have enough folds and curves in them to look more natural. And on the back of the wings, you can see these sculpted in folds on the bone joints, which look so ugly. Ugh. Every sculpted detail is amazingly lifelike that a part of me is wondering, is there anything different about how they built this figure? To answer that question, let's examine the material. Looking closely at these little bits of chipped paint at the bottom of the wings, which by the way were my fault, he did not look like this out of the box, I just played with him a little too hard.
I'm down!
As I was saying, these chipped parts reveal the natural color of the material itself. And not only does that dark gold color help the expressiveness of the figure, it also allows certain parts of the figure to do this. Now this isn't translucent material because without the lighting, you definitely can't see through the wings. Whoa! This is just lightly colored material that allows a colored glow to be seen when light shines through it. And that material is actually what the entire figure is made out of. And since the necks are kinda hollow and also super thin, that means you can do this. That is a kick-ass light feature! And this is 100% film accurate. In fact, I actually had to go rewatch the movie to double check because I completely forgot that this Ghidorah's necks light up for his breath attack. Very nice, HIYA Toys, love your work. The rest of the figure is made out of the same material, but it doesn't glow because the necks are hollow and the wings are super solid but also super thin. It's a beautiful sculpt, a magnificent design with some added in details to make it pop. Of course, in order for it to properly pop, it would need a top-tier level of articulation and engineering to pull off some expressive posing. Does it?
Oh yes.
The articulation and engineering on this guy is superior, especially when compared to their original version. In fact, those categories were what the fans were complaining about half the time. As far as solidity goes, the first version was pretty solid, but the engineering was a bit unstable. The figure suffered from loose ball joints that would come apart during posing, and over time, the joints would only get looser. In my figure's case, 2 of the 3 heads completely pop off with very little force.
And my boy's gonna mess you up. I rolled a one. Fuck.
And don't even think about saying that the cut off head look is intentional, because we all know what an intentionally severed head looks like. The first version also suffered from some major stiffness. Thanks to the sculpt, the necks had this S-curve design to them, which limited the head's ability to look around. They could look up a lot, but looking down or side to side, forget about it. Now for the 2.0 version, not only are the connections solid, but the material that was used to put them together makes them so much more flexible. And the neck joints are so solid and posable that they can make a full-on circle. It's incredible! All three necks have 10 points of articulation that allow for some beautifully natural and curvy poses. And for the heads themselves, we got a classic hinge joint at the bottom jaw and a hinge joint at the tongue. Careful with the tongues though, they tend to get stuck in the roof of the mouth and they're incredibly thin. The hinges for the jaws have an amazing range without having an excessive underbite. The open and closed mouth look for the 2.0 version looks amazingly natural, except for Kevin. I'm hoping that this is just on my copy because the bottom jaw is kind of bent in the back, causing the sides of the mouth to pop out of the grooves, which is annoying, but it is also easy to fix. Of course it would be Kevin's head. There's always something wrong with Kevin.
You know, when you sewed me up, you put some of the stuffing in the wrong places, so I'm a little fucked up. But will you take care of me forever and ever?
The rest of the figure's articulation and engineering is pretty much the exact same as the first version, except much more solid. I love it! Ball jointed torso, ball jointed thighs, ratchet hinge joint at the knees, because you can hear the clicky sound in the knees. There's also a peg for the knees that allows them to rotate, and another ratcheted hinge joint at the ankles with the same rotation. And a football joint that is pretty damn tight. Probably because it's sculpted into the figure's design, but I don't much care. The tails also have 10 solid points of articulation, and unlike the first version, the tails were fully attached to this figure out of the box, which is another really good thing, because oof. For the first version, right out of the box, you had to attach these tails manually, which was a bitch and a half. And if you were, let's say, moving out and you wanted to put the figure back in the box, you would have to separate the tails. And for some reason, once you took the tails off, they became even harder to get back on. Why the frick is that a thing? The 2.0 version has solidly connected tails that have no reason to come apart. And they might actually be a little too solid in some cases because it's a little harder to get them to hold certain poses for a long amount of time. But I don't really care that much because the rest of the figure is so solid that I didn't even need these included stand accessories. Seriously, look at this. I've had this figure for a little over 2 weeks and I've only had to unwrap one of the stand plates. Come on, you bitch. Look at this. The other two are still in the bag. And I only needed this torso arm to hold him up for some leaning forward poses. This is a huge win for HIYA Toys, because if a figure out of the box is solid enough to support itself without the included stands, that means the solidity of the figure will last you a long time. Even the wings don't need supports, and those are probably the heaviest part of the figure. The shoulders have a solid hinge joint with an even more solid rotation. The bottom half of the wings also has this joint, and so does the 3-segmented top half of the wings. Look at how fucking solid they are, holding their position. Oh my god! And in case you weren't aware, the top 3 segments of the wings can be disconnected and articulated so that you can get him into this wing walking pose, just like it says in the included instructions. Although the wing pose isn't really in the instructions, it just kind of tells you that the wings can do this, so. But to anyone who's been keeping track, I guess this isn't really a surprise because the first version was able to do this. But 2.0 here actually has a minor difference in the connection bits. For the first version, when you connected the wings, they just kind of sat in these grooved areas. But when you connect the wings for this version, you hear this. A satisfyingly solid snap to signify that not only are the wings together, but they will also be staying together. Fuck yeah, HIYA Toys! I love it! And that connection paired with the solidity of the joints guarantees that they'll be able to hold any pose without needing supports. Even though supports for the figure were included, I don't think I'll be needing them for a while. Speaking of included accessories, These should have been a part of the first version. You get 3 of these gravity beams, anti-gravity beams, lightning beams, electricity beams. Jesus. Make up your mind, Ghidorah! I'm gonna call them gravity beams because that's what Wikizilla calls them. Each of these beams is able to plug into a specific head. The instructions say that there's a trapezoidal shape at the base that corresponds with the head it connects to, but I can't figure it out. The color of the beams is too bright for me to tell the direction of the opening, and the base is so damn tiny that I can't see the trapezoid.
Is that a trapezoid?
All I know is that this beam can connect to Itchy's head because there is no trapezoidal shape at the base, and the way you can fit the others is by carefully testing out which mouth you can put them in. And if the beam can go all the way to the back of the mouth, then that's the right one. Now with the gravity beams attached, it looks so good! But still, the first version should have included these because unlike Godzilla, Ghidorah doesn't glow before using his gravity beams. Even though the MonsterVerse Ghidorah's neck has to light up before he uses his gravity beams, it still doesn't change color! The reason Godzilla has so many different forms is because his atomic breath is blue and his dorsal plates glow blue. Ghidorah's glow doesn't change his color. You just use a little yellow light and it works the same way. We do not need a special color version for the gravity beams! Every Ghidorah figure should automatically include gravity beams in the first release. I'm calling out every toy company for this one, not just HIYA Toys. And I'm especially calling out SH Monster Arts. You wanna know why? Because they've released 2 MonsterVerse Ghidorah figures, and guess which one includes gravity beams? Here's a hint for you. Neither of them. Regardless of that personal complaint, this version includes gravity beams with a secure connection to the mouth around the tongues. And thanks to these little teeth marks at the base of the beams, the heads can grab onto and hold the beams securely. Out of the box, these heads were solid enough to hold the beams in damn near any pose, and, well, they still kind of are. Oh! Come on, Kevin. Stop moving. Stop moving. Kevin? Oh, they still are! Woo-hoo-hoo! I was gonna say that my 2 weeks of rough handling this guy was weighing the heads down a little bit, but fuck, I was wrong. Oh, no, Itchy, come on. Come on, Itchy, help me out here. Oh my fuck, yeah! Never mind, 2 weeks of handling this guy did not weigh the heads down at all. They can still hold those beams in any pose. Fuck yeah!
I'm the best.
Although, if you do end up having a problem with the figure holding the gravity beams up, you can always throw in a stand or a physical prop to help keep the gravity beams in place. Despite how much I've been handling this guy, the joints remain to be very, very solid. In fact, I can't keep my hands off this figure. I would much rather play with this King Ghidorah instead of jacking off. The improved engineering has made the articulation so much more satisfying and enjoyable. And the sturdier materials guarantee you won't break or chip anything unless you aggressively handle it. He is so much fun to play with that I have spent an entire week playing with this guy and taking pictures of him. And I just have to show a few pictures that I took of this guy last week. Here they are. I'll do some photo editing later to make the pictures look more realistic, and then I'll post them up once they're done. If you want to see the other pictures I took of this guy, check out my Instagram page. After about a solid week of playing with this guy, the only major negative that I can point out is mother looking piece of painful he hurt to handle. Sharp spikes on his back, tipped claws on his feet, pointy horns and teeth on his heads, and not to mention, these razor-sharp spikes on his wings actually cut me. For the love of God, be careful when handling. Speaking of those wings, did I mention they were huge? So huge that the entire figure fully winged up barely even fits in my background. You're gonna need a bigger background. I also had to put the camera this far back in order to get the size comparison pictures. Look how far back this is. Even now, look how far back the camera is. Oh, and for those size comparisons, here he is next to HIYA Toys I'll save it. HIYA Toys Kong, Godzilla Evolved, first review Shimo, previous review GMK Atomic Breath Godzilla, and for good measure, here he is next to the first HIYA Toys Monsterverse Ghidorah figure. Seeing these guys together isn't all that trippy, but that's a good thing, because you can definitely tell how 2.0 improves over the first version. In almost every way, 2.0 is superior to the first version. The original version of their Monsterverse King Ghidorah has served me well in the past, but I cannot deny that 2.0 has improved on every flaw from the original version. With that in mind, 2.0 will be staying on my shelf forever, and the original version will be going back in the box. Speaking of figures that are going back in the box, yes, I have the SH Monster Arts version, and I actually will not be getting rid of it. Here's why. This version was actually the first King Ghidorah action figure I ever owned. And it was a birthday gift from my dearly beloved mother. It is deeply sentimental to me because of how much I love my mother and also because of how much respect I have for her buying this extremely overpriced figure for my 2019 birthday. Yes, she bought it for me right after the movie came out. Even though the figure resells today at double the original price, the sentimental value for this guy is just priceless. I love you, Mom. Now, with the personal bias out of the way, the figure itself sucks. The wings will not stay on. I can't get the base of the tails to reconnect, and of course Kevin isn't even trying, and the right leg for some reason will not reconnect! While this figure had a few flaws straight out of the box, those issues over time have only gotten worse. This figure is definitely staying in the box forever. FYI, I put myself through hell for these size comparisons, so you better be fucking grateful and like the video! Anyways, where was I? Right, size comparisons. Dasani water bottle, Funko Pop Godzilla Evolved, the Lego Avengers, and here is the HIYA Toys 2019 Godzilla King of the Monsters, Rodan and Mothra. Oh, and here's Godzilla, 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 and Godzilla.
I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym, I'm getting the feeling of coming at home, I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up, when I pose out in front of 5,000 people. So I'm coming day and night.
This is a perfect figure setup. The pre-evolved Godzilla belongs next to this guy. The Atomic Breath Godzilla belongs next to this guy. The Burning Godzilla definitely belongs next to this guy. This Ghidorah is a perfect addition to any Monsterverse collection. He looks especially good next to all the other HIYA Toys King of the Monsters figures. I've gotten so many pictures of this guy recreating scenes from King of the Monsters, the Three-Headed Monster, Invasion of Astro Monster, just any show of film that you can think of where Ghidorah went up against Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra. This Ghidorah looks good with all of them. Poses both new and old, on the ground or in the air, he just looks great. By the way, getting this figure in the air, not impossible. But I do suggest you use the same figure stand that I'm using so that you can get two posable arms on the same plate. The only way you're gonna get this big-ass figure in the air is with 2 or more figure stands. I'll do you a solid and leave you a link in the description for these stands specifically, and that link will be right alongside the link for this figure, which I am expecting you to pick up. You owe it to yourself to pick this guy up. As a Godzilla fan, a Ghidorah fan, a giant monster fan, hell, even if you're a dragon fan, by all means, pick this guy up. And sure, he's over the $100 mark, but fuck it, worth every penny. Full 9 out of 10. I have no shame in saying that this is the best King Ghidorah figure I will ever own. Probably ever own. Well, okay, look. I know HIYA Toys is making 3 versions of the Heisei King Ghidorah, but I don't think any of them are going to be better than this guy. The main reason I'm saying that is because no gravity beams. The only reason he didn't get a full 10 out of 10 is because it took HIYA Toys 4 years and 3 tries to finally get it right. Well, at least they were working to improve their engineering. Bad Nah. He also didn't get a 10 out of 10 because of Kevin's asymmetrical jaw. Fuck you, Kevin. Since you're definitely gonna want to grab this guy, I recommend you pick him up at the Co-Kids Toy Store! As I said in the start of my video, the link in the description will give you a 4% discount on the figure when you make the order, and I know it's been delayed multiple times for multiple reasons, but I can promise you this. If Co-Kids Store says it's in stock, it's in stock. Order it from the closest regional warehouse and have fun. I am fully convinced that this is the last MonsterVerse Ghidorah figure you'll ever need. Unless somehow Ghidorah makes a comeback, but we all know the MonsterVerse isn't really the best at making comebacks. In fact, Mothra is the only Titan who's been seen after King of the Monsters. Honestly, I don't think we're gonna see any of the Titans from that movie again. Oh yeah, boy! HIYA Toys, you've gotta get on those Monarch Legacy of Monsters Titans. I'm telling you, your bendy wire tech would be perfect for the Ion Dragon, Titan X, or a 2.0 Rodan? Hey, it's already happened 3 times, alright? What's to stop HIYA Toys from making a 2.0 Rodan figure with a fancy light-up feature? In fact, what's stopping them from making another King Ghidorah with a light-up feature? Wait, no, you didn't hear that, alright? This figure's perfect, you did a great job, we don't need another one. We don't need a light-up feature, alright? Just cut that bit out. We're done, video's over. Thank you all for watching, I'll see you all later.